You guys are hot on
that,
the
to drown or not to drown. I like
That's
that.
very good. To drone or not to drone.
I
That's
thought
very
that was a
good.
good one.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I don't share in the whole Big Brother thing as much as others do because I just assume that anything I do is being videotaped by some security camera, a bank
So you've
camera,
already given
something.
into Big Brother.
I've given in. I mean, what am I going to do? It is what
Well,
it is, and
the biggest protection all of us have is that our lives are so mundane.
Good evening.
well, that's true.
And you know, I mean, if you look at all the data on my life or what have you, you may find a few interesting little peaks. Other than that, it's just pretty much.
You know, if
This
people
is-
want to
this
know
is
what
human
TV
life,
shows
I know.
I watch, more
I'm
power
curious
to
about
them.
that.
I watch
You're
some
a
good stuff. I
political
watch some
scientist.
crap.
Yeah.
You know,
Is the
We all
18th
do.
century Constitution up to covering this? The 14th Amendment and well, the drone? Who would ever thought we'd have something called drone
I
courts?
think the answer to that is that the section of the Constitution about having to declare war before you have conflict is not up to date to the 21st century. And so I think there's a lot of areas that are not up to date. But we have a very flexible Constitution, and we can bring it up to date.
So you're suggesting we should maybe bring it up to
depending
date
on
with
how
the-
much you define flexible to
Yeah,
be.
depending on the- or what
Mucky.
you define as up to date.
Murky and like what's that putty like stuff that bounces?
Silly putty.
Silly putty.
Silly putty.
I love
But it's
silly
important to
things.
realize, right now, our entire strategy against Al-Qaeda and the Taliban, jihadists in general, is taking out the leadership. This is the same strategy we use to get the Gotti family. You just keep getting guy named Gotti until there's no Gottis left. You just keep, it's the same strategy Israel
Israel,
used
absolutely,
against the
to-
PLA. It's the same strategy. It's
And
been
very
utilized numerous
successful.
times.
Very successful.
Very successful. And drones make it far, far easier.
At some point, some guy is going to say, "I'm going to get me a drone to get rid of the president and the vice president and the secretary."
Well,
of
that's
could be
not
happening while we're
absurd.
sitting
Yes,
here.
that's not
There's
absurd.
no technological reason why not.
And that's the accessibility issue.
So, I mean, it sounds like we're morphing into the gun debate. It's the same kind of conversation.
Is it?
Well, you don't have a constitutional right to fly an airplane.
Well,
no.
That's true.
Either
Well,
remotely
But you
or
don't have,
otherwise.
there's no constitutional prohibition from doing it either.
But the fear
Well,
is,
there's a licensing procedure.
I think
Well,
that-
that's not that's
Yeah.
regulatory.
I used to fly.
yeah.
I used to fly those darn things. They didn't have a license.
Well,
just
I
flew.
remember
technically
buying
not
my
allowed to fly
son
over
that
500
little
feet.
car that was so
You did.
exciting because
No,
he
you're
could
not allowed to.
control
Yes,
it.
except that those are governed by federal regulations because that radio signal is on the spectrum. So there's a regulation
Yeah,
that is controlling those little toy cars.
Yeah,
They-
That's-
they used to
But
have-
I don't think
Well, for the
federal
planes, it's
regulation
500
can
feet, but-
even keep up with the technology
Yeah,
and the
you- I think
development.
you're
well,
right.
that I agree
So,
with.
fine
you know,
print.
we're counting on that, but that's not
Absolutely.
going to help
Well,
us.
and-
There was the
remember,
fine print
the-
on those little toys. I used to ignore the fine print all the time.
You are just hung up on
Remember
those
the,
little toys.
I think George
Well, I'd
wants to
say
go
all
home
kinds
and
of
play with
comments
his
could come
little
out of
toys.
that one. I think you're comment about the integration of technology. Imagine our little drone, not a very fancy one, not armed or what have you, but it's able to pick up Wi-Fi. And now let's fly that over
Ah.
the bank. And how many IDs can I steal?
You know.
Well,
what I'm
that's, but wait a minute, picking up Wi-Fi doesn't mean you're hacking into the system. That's
No,
a
but
little
it means
different.
I'm sending it to the computer who has got the hacker there, and I can do this over 14 hours over an ATM machine, and maybe I only get 10% of the people who use their ATM card in there. But that is still better than, you know, I mean, there's other means of doing this. I mean, they've got people doing exactly what I'm talking about in parked cars, that sort of thing. But, you know, that's just one small area that we're opening up in terms of a very large can of worms.
In Sarah's research for this, I saw this picture of this little fish-like creature. It was a robot, basically. It was a drone.
Right,
It was
right,
a fish
right.
drone. And I'm thinking, boy, we're not even thinking about all the possibilities. Fish underwater.
Well, you know what it is? It's like the scenes from, you were citing Star Trek, which of course I'm a huge fan. I think I've cited it here before. But it's like Star Wars too. You know, those big things that I think it was in the third movie when they were having the fight in the forest with the Ewoks, and you know, or maybe it was I don't remember which one, but you know which one we're talking about. And those were big, huge robots. And I think there might have been a person at the top because at
Right,
the time
right.
in the 70s, the technology, I don't think maybe George Lucas could imagine these being unmanned.
I can't
Right.
remember,
But-
there was a name for them. I can't remember
You
what it
remember,
was.
but you
But they were
remember
like
those
battle
things.
elephants.
Yes, exactly.
Huge,
You remember
right,
those
right,
things.
Those were big ones. I'm thinking about the nanobots, the little teeny ones that go in your bloodstream.
Oh, that's another. Well, that's something entirely different as well, and those
Actually,
have
something you
tremendous
said earlier,
positive
George,
applications, medical
about
applications.
assassinating the president.
Yes.
What better way to attempt that, and I am not endorsing this by any means against any president, would be to use a fairly decent hobby plane that's loaded with the proper type of explosives and just dive bomb it on his car when he was driving down Pennsylvania Avenue to his
Well, I
office.
think the car would probably be somewhat impervious, but the better place is when he goes and speaks at various places across the country. They don't, they institute no-fly zones wherever he is, but who's to stop the little kid next door?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Or
And
somebody
they
stealing
have
the little
Secret
kid's model
Service
airplane.
up on rooftops all around, but
Right.
what are they going to do against the drone? So we're far.
Hopefully they're good skeet shooters.
Somebody said that one of the research guys, one of the people in the research said, you don't have to persuade a robot that 7 virgins are waiting on the other side of paradise.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Okay, yeah. It's to me the accessibility issue is more frightening than the Big Brother, and I know I talked a lot about that, but I'm a very private person in my private life, and I really don't like the idea of that privacy being invaded. But what really frightens me more, because we're all law-abiding citizens.
How do you know?
I'm just counting that to be a fact. So we're not likely to utilize this technology for criminal intent. But the example that you've just given, David, of just accessing bank records, all kinds of mischief and major damage can be done with this concept, this drone concept. And that's what makes me nervous.
As access expands, mischief expands.
Well, and listen, you're not supposed to be selling assault rifles on the street, but you can buy them, right?
Get me one.
I don't know how to buy one.
I don't even know how to play the lottery, for Pete's sakes.
I don't know how to play the lottery, but I can get you an assault rifle.
Can you really?
Sure, no
Good.
problem.
Actually, I don't know if I can
Yeah,
get the
mean,
rifle, but I
You
think
got
I
enough
can play the
syrup?
lottery.